So this is unit 8, day 4. We're going to learn about quadratic formula today, but first we have a warm up that's kind of an SOL review. Sixth period. Okay, I've got my attendance recorded. You guys are working on trying to remember equation of a line stuff. My green poster over there might remind you about the different forms of the lines, but of course I will remind you also. All right, I'm going to give you some reminders as you're working, just in case you want reminders. When we're thinking about slope intercept form, it's asking about slope and intercept. So that's M and B. So for number 1, slope intercept is y equals mx plus b. That's our form of the line. That's what we're looking for, but you're putting in some numbers. Over here on number 2, standard form is ax plus by equals, oops. Is it equals C? Yeah, sorry. All of a sudden I couldn't remember whether I wanted it equal to 0. Okay, and this was special because A and B have to be, A has to be positive. You can't have any fractions on any of these guys. Those were rules for standard form. Point slope form, it tells you what you need. You need a point and you need a slope. So we say y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. Okay, so I'll give you another minute. I know you might not all be done, but another minute, and then we'll go over the answers to these. All right, so I'm going to talk about the answers to these and see if I can help remind you. Does anybody want to give me your answer for slope intercept form for number 1? What do you have, Ilya?
Y equals -8x minus 39.
100% true. So this is the answer, and I will talk about how we got there. Y equals -8x minus 39. That truly is the answer. So you need slope and you need the y-intercept. So the way we do this problem is first we have to find slope, right? I have 2 points and slope is the change in y. So 9 minus -7. I'm finding slope right now. That's 9 minus -7 all over my change in x. So -6 minus -4. Okay, and when I have negatives, I usually put them in parentheses just so I don't lose any negatives here. This is 9 plus 7, right? 9 minus -7 is the same as 9 plus 7. -6 minus -4 is -6 plus 4, so that's -2. So my slope was -8. M is slope, right? Slope. Okay, in order to find your B value, you need a Y and an M and an X, and then you can plug that all in and get B. That's what we're going to do. So I'm going to choose the first ordered pair. It doesn't matter if you have some special affiliation with the second one, go ahead and use the second one because you'll get the same B. Okay, so I'm going to use this X and this Y, right? Because that's an ordered pair. So I have an X and a Y, and now I have M. So my Y is -7. So I'm plugging this into my original Y equals MX plus B equation. -7 equals my slope, -8, times my X from this ordered pair plus B. B is the thing I don't know. That's what I'm looking for. So I have -7 equals +32 plus B. And I subtract 32 from each side and I get -32 equals B. So now I have my B, that's the y-intercept. And I have my M. And so when I plug that back in, this is our answer. Y equals -8x minus 39. Question?
You said -32 equals B instead of -39.
Oh my gosh. Sheesh, I was all proud of myself. I was like, I got it. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, -7 and -32 combined make -39. Thank you, thank you. Remind me later. Okay, so now that I've done it right, feel okay? I know it's a long time ago. This was unit 4. Okay, we're gonna come over here and we're gonna put something in standard form. So the thing is, I can't really do standard form until I have some form of a line. I will typically just go straight to y equals mx plus b. That's my favorite. If one could have a favorite. So let me show you how we get there. I'm going to find the slope, same way I just did over here. Sorry, my defaults have all changed, so I have to keep changing the thickness of my pen. Okay, my slope is -5 minus 0 over 4 minus -1, which is 4 plus 1, right? So I have -5 over 5. My slope is -1. All right. I have an X and a Y right here in my ordered pair. I'm just going to choose that first ordered pair. So Y equals 0. So Y equals M, that's -1 times X, which is also -1 plus B. I'm using my what is that called? Slope intercept form to find B. I'm plugging in all the stuff I know. 0 equals 1 plus B. So I'm going to subtract 1 from each side. So I know B equals -1. So far, so good. If I write this in now slope intercept form, then I have Y equals M, which is -1 times X minus 1. You don't have to have those parentheses. I don't know why I put them there. Okay, it wants me to write this in standard form though. So I'm out of room and I'm going to erase a little bit of my stuff. I have slope intercept form, but I need standard form. So what I'm going to do is drag this guy up. Oh no, you stay. I want to drag you up. That's slope intercept form, not standard form. I need Y equals AX plus B. Nope, that's not. I need ax plus by equals c. Sorry, this is standard form right here. So we're going to get there. So I need ax. So it's negative 1x right now. I'm going to add 1x to each side. So I'm going to have 1x, which is just x, plus y equals negative 1. Everybody okay with that? I just added 1x to each side. Okay, I am now in standard form, right? I have ax plus by equals c. A is positive. A, B, and C are all integers and they can't be divided by anything. So that's it. X plus y equals negative 1. That is standard form. Both of these forms, the blue and the purple, they're both exactly the same line. It's just that this is slope intercept in the blue and the purple is standard. Questions? Feel okay? Yeah?
You're saying to solve it in slope intercept. Oh wait, hold on. I just forgot that.
So I do, Layla, it's not the only way to do this problem. I typically revert back to that slope intercept form. It is my personal favorite. But if they had given you slope and a point, you would want to use point slope form just because that's more efficient. However, you can do it to put it into an equation, do that, and then rearrange your equation so that it's standard form. So as always, there are several ways to do lots of these problems. Okay, I have to erase because I've written all over everything that I need. But we're going to do point slope form. So it tells you right in the form name what I need. I need a point and I need a slope. So they've been nice. They gave me 2 points, right? I have 2 points. So I need a slope. So again, I'm going to find slope. Okay, slope is 1 minus 2 over 9 minus 7. 1 minus 2 is negative 1, and 9 minus 7 is 2. So my slope is negative 1/2. Everybody clear on that? Okay, point slope form looks like this. Y minus y sub 1, where it's going to be, I'm going to take my first point. This is y sub 1. This equals m times x minus x sub 1. X sub 1 is the x value in my first order pair. So I'm just going to plug stuff in, okay? I have y minus, I come back over here, the y in my first order pair is 2. It equals my slope that I figured out, negative 1/2, times x minus my x in my first order pair. Okay, the thing is you can also choose the other ordered pair. Nobody cares, right? So I can choose 9, 1. So if I do that one and you guys try it, try to plug that into your point slope form. Y minus 1 this time, right? Because that's the y here. It equals negative 1/2 times x minus, and I look, my x sub 1 there is 9. These would both give you the same exact line if you graph them out. If you turn them into slope intercept form, they will both turn into the same exact equation. Feel like that jogged your memory and wiped out some cobwebs from a long time ago? Any questions? I think I get to see you 5 more days before you come in and take your math SOL. I will continue to throw random SOL practice stuff at you. Jefferson Labs is a great resource though. So anyway. All right, we're done with this page and we're gonna move on. Today we're gonna talk about the quadratic formula and it is 10:57. So the quadratic formula is a formula that you can use to find those x values where your function, your graph is crossing the x. Okay, so even if you've got something that's prime, you can use the quadratic formula to find the x values. So we're going to learn how to do that today. Today, for the most part, it's going to be all using calculators and brains, but I will show you a little bit in Desmos how to do some of these problems. You will have homework in math space, but it's not assigned.
song today. Yeah. You can keep it and look at it later if you're wanting to still look at it, or. Okay. I think I got the notes out to everybody. It should say quadratic formula at the top, so you want to make sure. If you're at home looking, I've got this in Schoology already, so you can follow along. If you have a printer at home, you can print, or you might just want to try to take notes as we go along, but I'll put this recording up also. Okay, so please take a look. You've got some warm-up questions that you guys all can do, not using the quadratic formula. So we might just get through these warm-up questions before lunch. Let's see. I gave suggestions on which method to use to find your zeros. That's what does X equal when the whole thing equals 0, right? I gave you suggestions, but I don't really care which method you use. So if you like something better, go for it. Set your whole equation equal to 0 and then figure out what X would be. For me, factoring, I'm going to say X squared plus 12X plus 36 equals 0. And factoring means I'm looking for two binomials that multiply, right? When I look at X plus 6 times X plus 6 equals 0, either the first binomial has to equal 0 or the second binomial has to equal 0. So that when I multiply them together, my answer is 0. But there's only one answer here. Yeah.
We're that saying, like, if the first binomial is zeros and the second is zeros, the first is not zeros and the second is not 0 because they're the same.
But 0 times 0 is 0.
Yeah. And the answer is -6.
Yes, and there's only one answer here. So if I had this, if I graphed this on a coordinate grid, it's going to be a parabola that opens up because my leading coefficient is positive, and it's going to just touch the x-axis in one spot. So I'm going to have exactly one answer right there, right? This guy has two answers, right? It touches twice. But example 1 only has one answer. Set your whole equation equal to 0 if it's not already. Oh, not true. Number 2, I would isolate x squared. If you're doing this by the square root version, I would isolate x squared. Remember, your answer that you're giving me, since I'm asking for zeros, you need to tell me what does X equal. Sometimes it will have one answer, sometimes it will have two. If I'm asking for X intercepts, you need to give me ordered pair or ordered pairs. Yeah.
Would we use the quadratic formula only when, like only when we do it the other way?
Yeah, so you guys at home, the question was, would we use the quadratic formula only when you can't solve another way? You can use the quadratic formula anytime you want to, anytime. It will always work. What you're going to find today when we start using it is it's a little tedious and involved. So usually if you can see a quick way to factor or a quick way to solve it by taking the square root, usually you're going to do it that way, but you can always use the quadratic formula. Yeah.
Any outcome that we're trying to find by using the quadratic formula is 0.
It's what does x equal when the whole function equals 0? So when y equals, so you want the values for x. Yeah. Yep.
Which we're already doing now.
Which we're already doing, exactly. It's just sometimes you're going to have an equation where you can't. These, I gave you equations that you can solve without the quadratic formula. Yep, you're always trying to find what does x equal to make the whole thing equal 0. And Desmos will be your friend. I'll show you Desmos today too, so. Does anybody still want another minute or two? No, you're all done? Okay, I'll start talking about them. Cool. I just didn't want to rush anybody. Okay, so if we find the zeros by taking square roots, that was just a suggestion. I set this equal, I'm trying to get x squared by itself. So I'm going to divide each side now by 3. So I have x squared equals 16. So to undo x squared, we take the square root of it. Now that we are in this unit and we understand that there are 2 solutions, I now want the positive solution and the negative solution, right? So I know the square root of 16 is 4. X equals 4, but x also equals -4, right? So we put plus or minus. That symbol is plus or minus. So it means that x can be +4 or x can be -4. And that's because -4 squared is -4 times -4. It's +16. +4 squared is +16. So we have 2 answers, right? So x is +4 or -4. That means on a coordinate grid, as I have my parabola, I'd have something at -4 and something at +4, and it would do some kind of a parabola looking like that. All right, questions at all on, I'm also trying to remind you of different methods that we talked about. Questions on 1 or 2? All right, anybody have an answer for 3? Do you want to share? What do you have, Chloe? And there's my answer sheet. Yep, x equals 3 or 1. I usually say or because it can be 3 or 1. Probably some people say and. I'm not going to be super uptight about that. So I'm going to say that these are your zeros. X equals 3 or 1. You can write it also as a set of numbers, so squiggly brackets. 1, 3, we normally put it in lowest to biggest. So you can write your answer either way. Okay, on math space, I think it makes you say x. I think math space might make you say x equals 3, 1. I don't remember for sure. Yeah, is that right? Okay. But anyway, several ways to write it. So let's see how we got there. I'm erasing some of that. We got there by, first I said, hey, there's a greatest common factor. I'm going to divide everything by 2. So I have 2 times x squared minus 4x plus 3. It still equals 0. And watch this. When I divide each side by 0, when I divide each side by 0, the world blows up. When I divide each side by 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that's gone. 0 divided by 2 is just 0. So I now just have this easy thing to look at. X squared minus 4x plus 3 equals 0. I'm going to finish this problem. I know it's lunchtime, but I'm going to finish this problem. Okay, you can, whichever method you want to figure out your factors. I know that my 2 last terms have to be negative because a negative times negative is a positive. I know it has to be -1 and -3. That's the only way I can make that work. This all equals 0. So x equals 1 or 3. That's how we came up with that. Questions at all on number 3? Stretching. Okay, so it's lunchtime. I'm gonna stop recording. You guys at home, it's lunchtime. You get half an hour. We will start back up again about 11:40-ish. So you can either log out and then log back in, or you can just kind of silence everything. Hang on one second. So resume recording. We are now recording for the rest of the class, just so you all know anything you say will be recorded. Okay, so we're gonna finish up here. We had just finished number 3. We're gonna scroll up to the top here. Number 4, it asked us to find x-intercepts, and we were reminded that that means you're looking for an ordered pair. And so what we're looking for is on a graph, where do we cross the x-axis? So we cross right there, and we cross right here. So my x-intercepts are at 3, 0, right? It has to be 0 for y because we didn't go up and down. And also 5, 0 for our x-intercepts. Something weird's going on. Something weird's going on. Let's see. I should have David and Aiden. Sorry, something weird happened when I tried to accept you. So, okay. So when we're looking at those x-intercepts, you're looking for ordered pairs, right? If I wanted zeros, I would say that the zeros are at 3 and 5. Okay, and then looking at number 5, we just wanted to find the vertex. This we did on the very first day that we talked about quadratic equations. And so we remember that ax plus by equals, ax squared plus bx plus c. That's where we're going to get our a, b, and c here. So if I want my vertex, I know the x value equals negative b over 2a. That's how I'm going to find x in this ordered pair. Okay, so I'm just going to put in negative b. So that's negative of negative 12 over 2a. That's 2 times 3. Okay, so x equals positive 12 over 6, which is 2. I just figured out the x value is 2, and now I need y, right? So if this whole function is what I'm talking about, this is either the f of x or y. It equals that whole function. I have the value for x, so I'm going to plug it in. So I know y is going to equal whatever all of that equals once I plug in 2. So I have 3 times 2 squared minus 12 times 2 plus 15. I plugged in my x value of 2, any place I saw x in that equation. This equals 3 times 4, which is 12, minus 24 plus 15. And so when I solve that, it equals positive 3. This is y. I already know x, so my vertex is going to be at 2, 3. What this means is if I put this on a coordinate grid, like so, my vertex is going to be at 2, 3, some point like that. I have a positive coefficient as my leading coefficient, so I know we open up. Right, so it's going to be some sort of a parabola like that, where the minimum, the vertex is right there at 2, 3. Questions at all on any of those warm-up questions that we did? We had a double warm-up today because we did warm-up for SOL and then we did warm-up for quadratics. All right, so today we're going to talk about the quadratic formula. It's this big mess of stuff, so listen while I say it. You say x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I will say it again, but you're going to hear it in the song. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So the quadratic formula can work for every single problem, even ones that were listed as prime before. Prime just meant that we couldn't figure out factors, integer factors. Okay, so since we didn't have integer factors, what happens is we might have a square root in our answer. It might be part of our answer. We might be having like 3 times the square root of 5 or something. Okay, so we can give our answers in simplest radical form, 3 times the square root of 5, or sometimes we'll be asked to find the answers using decimals. And so you'll just need a calculator and you'll literally find out what is the square root of 5 on your calculator. Sorry, this is starting to say simplest radical form. Okay, so if my answer was 2 times the square root of 5, that's simplest radical form. Or if I do this on a calculator, I'm going to do 2 times the square root of 5 on my calculator, and then I'm going to write it out as a decimal. So 2 times 5 square roots. This would be 4.472. Okay, these values are the same. 2 times the square root of 5 is the same as approximately 4.472. This is the decimal version. This is the simplest radical form version. All right, so we're still always finding x. Remember x, that's our solutions or our intercepts or our roots or our zeros. Those are the 4 words that we can use to describe what does x equal when we cross that y-axis. So before this, I have the song. It is, I have too many things on my screen. 1 second and I will get that song open. All right, slow mouse is trailing me. I'm waiting on my technology. That's why you're waiting on me. Come on, little mouse. Click. I'm sorry, I'm really laggy on my computer, so. All right. I don't want to have to reboot. I'm gonna, no, don't disconnect from the projector. Oh, hey, it's better now. Okay, it was being weird, I don't know. But it's better now, so let's have our song. Wait, how do you do what? Problem 5 on the warm-up? We haven't solved anything using the quadratic formula yet. We're going to do that in a minute.
Number 5 on the warm-up.
Oh, number 5 on the warm-up. Let me come back to that in just a minute. Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure. Oh, did I complete? No, I didn't ignore it, but I'll come back to it in a second. Okay, quadratic formula. Let me get my speaker in the right speaker place. That's going to be that.
Minus the square root, minus 4 is all over 2a. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2.
We get more excited and we get to have, yeah.
Thanks, you just made me think that song just made me forget something that I first remember, that I first heard like many years ago.
About the quadratic formula?
Well, I'm kind of exaggerating, but like that song I really like.
Tough. Hey, we'll keep adding harmony and we get more excited.
Minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
I lost all my IQ.
Okay, so the thing that's helpful about that is it does help you remember. There were not songs like that when I was in school. We just had to memorize it. So it is helpful for you to have that whole quadratic formula memorized. So the song is fun and helpful. I'm going to come back just super fast and look at number 5, but we're going to be quick about it because I really want to talk about quadratic formula. Okay, we had to find the vertex, and I gave you a reminder that the vertex is found by looking at the ordered pair that's your minimum or your maximum, right? So the parabola. So the ordered pair is x, y, but x is that negative b over 2a thing. So we had to find what is x. I said a is 3, b is negative 12, c is 15. So negative b is going to be the negative of negative 12, right? Over 2a, so that's 2 times 3. I'm just finding the x part of my ordered pair right now. So this is 24 over 6. That's not right. 12. Sorry. I'm distracted now. And that's okay. So negative of negative 12, sorry, is 12. It's not 24. Over 6, and 12 divided by 6 is 2. All we figured out was the x part of our ordered pair, right? So I need the y part of my ordered pair also. So if this is my equation, this is either y equals all of this or f of x is all of this. I need y. So I'm going to find y by plugging in the x I know. So I have 3 times 2 squared minus 12 times 2 plus 15. See how we're just plugging in what the x value is? Okay, and then when I do that math, I end up with, in the end, I end up with 3. So I know my ordered pair is 2, 3. Okay, so using the quadratic formula, we're gonna go and do this one whole page for one single example. Okay, a whole page for one single example. So my equation that I'm starting with, I wanna make sure that I'm set equal to 0. And then I'm gonna find A and B and C. Right, A is 1. B is negative 5, and C is negative 36. Once I have those, I'm just plugging stuff into the equation, okay, into the formula right here. So x is negative b, so I have negative of b, negative of negative 5. Plus or minus the square root of, now I'm going to plug in. I know b is negative 5, so I have negative 5 squared. Please use your parentheses because it matters whether or not this is positive or negative. Minus 4 times A was 1, times C was negative 36. Okay, and then it's all over, because it's the whole 9 yards up top there, all over 2A, 2 times A, again, A was 1. Now we just have to use our order of operations skills to finish this. Okay, so the negative of negative 5 is positive 5, plus or minus the square root of. Negative 5 in parentheses squared equals 25. Minus 4 times 1 times negative 36. 4 times 1 times negative 36 equals 144. Okay, I have minus negative 144, so it's really plus 144. It's all over 2A, and I know 2 times 1 is 2, so far that's what I've got. 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 plus 144 all over 2. Okay, I'm just solving some more. I can say 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 plus 144 is 169 all over 2. And I know that that is 5 plus or minus 13, right? Because the square root of 169 is 13. It's all over 2. I'm going to move this guy over. Let's see if it will let me move it over, just because I'm going to give myself some more room. And I'm going to so if I have 5 plus 13, it's going to look like this, 5 plus 13 over 2. Or remember, I can also have 5 minus 13 over 2. Everybody see, I just split up plus or minus. I've got plus on one side, minus on the other. So 5 plus 13 is 18 over 2. 5 minus 13 is negative 8 over 2. So my answers are 9 or negative 4. Those are my answers. And I can write that in squiggly brackets, curly brackets as negative 4, 9. I think, again, math space wants you to say x equals negative 4, comma 9. I think that's how math space wants you to do it. Okay, so far we got lucky because we got the square root of 169. It was a perfect square. So we got to solve down to actual integers. So we're like, woo. So it's possible that we could have factored that whole problem. Possible. Possible we could have factored that x minus 9 times x plus 5, right? Right? If I did that as factoring, it would be x minus 9 times x plus 5. Does that work out? X squared minus, no, that doesn't work. Just, oh, because that's a 4. Just kidding. Hang on, let me actually put the actual factors. Try that again. Sorry, x minus 9 times x plus 4. How about that? That should work, right? Those are my factors. Because x squared plus 4x minus 9x, that's negative 5x, and then the end would be negative 36. If I had done it as factoring, I would see that x equals 9 or x equals negative 4, just like I figured out when I did it with the quadratic formula. Do you see? Yeah. Yep. Quadratic formula is just another way to solve. It will work on anything, but in particular, we use it when we couldn't figure out how to factor something or how to take the square roots. But it will always, always work. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next page. And we're just gonna do a couple of practice problems. Your upper 4 problems here are all going to give you either a fraction or an integer, okay? It's 5 and 6 that start giving you weird decimals. So do one with me, and then I'm going to have you try the rest on your own. A is 1, B is 5, and C is negative 6. And x equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Write it down on your paper somewhere because you're going to want to use it to fill stuff in. B is 5, so I have negative 5 plus or minus the square root of b squared. So that's just 5 squared minus 4 times a times c. And that's all over 2a. I do typically write every number in, even if it's a 1, just so I can make sure I put everything where it belongs. Now I'm going to simplify. So I have negative 5 plus or minus, yes. If you could, yes, so you could use the box method if you wanted to on this one. This one does factor. We're going to get to some that you wouldn't be able to factor using the box method. I just want you to practice right now, filling in all of these values and using the formula. So yeah, if you're able to factor, you can always try to solve that way. Just that sometimes it won't work or it'll be prime or something. Okay, so negative 5 plus or minus the square root of, I have 25. Negative 4 times negative 6 is positive 24. And that's all over 2. So I have negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 49 over 2. And of course, that equals negative 5 plus or minus 7 all over 2, right? Let me see if I can make this look more like the square root of 49. My tablet does not like 4s. Square root of 40. Okay, once I know that I have negative 5 plus 7 over 2 or negative 5 minus 7 over 2, negative 5 plus 7 is just 2 over 2, right? Or negative 5 minus 7 is negative 12 over 2. So my answers are 1 or negative 6. So on that one, you also could have said x minus 1 times x plus 6, and that actually would have factored out for you. But I wanted you to use the quadratic formula to get these answers, just because I wanted you to be able to put numbers in. On number 2, A is 2, B is 5, C is 3. We're just going to do this whole thing. So I have negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times 3. all over 2 times 2. All I'm doing each time here is plugging in A and B and C into that formula. And watch closely because I messed this up yesterday. It's -5 plus or minus the square root of 25. 4 times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24. So 25 minus 24, that's all over 4. That's -5 plus or minus the square root of 1, all over 4. And that's the same thing as -5 plus or minus 1, all over 4. Yeah. So I have -5 plus 1 over 4 is -4 over 4, or -5 minus 1 is -6 over 4. Okay, here you would not have been able to get integer factors because your answers are -1 or -3 halves. Yeah. So you wouldn't have been able to factor that one. Yeah. Yes, you should memorize the formula. I will say that your algebra formula sheet, because you'll get one on the SOL, it literally has like 4 shapes and it tells you how to find the area on the shapes or something. And then it gives you this quadratic formula. So it will give it to you, but it's helpful to memorize this. And it's helpful to memorize how to find the vertex. For this unit, you guys won't have a unit test. You will have open notes graded classwork. Just so you know, I don't know when yet. Coming up. Okay, can you guys try 3 and 4 on your own? See what you get. You can try 5, but you're going to need to use your calculator to find the decimal. And you're rounding to the nearest hundredth on this worksheet. So try 3 and 4 right now. If you're at home, I know you don't have it printed out, but maybe you can just write out the equation that I've got and try to plug everything in. So x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That's your formula that you're using. Oops, that's not the right number. So I'm trying to write these out step by step, but you can check your answers at least for 3 up on the screen, and eventually I'll have the answer for 4. I'm out of room, I can see it now. Right, so check your answer for number 3. You should have gotten 2/3 or -1 for number 3. I think I have the eraser. Let's see. I do have scissors. I say 4 because 9 is a solution. If but and counts also, if they are both solutions. You can't have these solutions. I typically say 4, but yeah. Both of them are at the same time. Yeah, instead of cross and run. All right, so number 4, is anybody still working on number 4? Okay, good. So check your answers for number 4. You should have gotten 1/3 and -2/3 as your answer for number 4. So as we did the first 4 problems, each one was something that ended up as an integer or a fraction. So when we move down here to numbers 5 and 6, we are not going to be so lucky. Okay, so watch what happens with numbers 5 and 6. I'm still going to do the same exact procedure. A equals 1, B equals 4, C equals -6. So I'm just going to plug this all in, right? X equals -4 plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C. And it's all over 2A. Every single time, that's what I'm doing. Okay. X equals -4 plus or minus the square root of, this is 16. -4 times -6 is positive 24. So plus 24 under there. And it's all over 2. Sorry, this tablet, it is really hard sometimes for me. I'm messy anyway, but it's really hard for me to be neat on here. Okay, I'm still solving, so I know this is -4 plus or minus the square root of 40 all over 2. So here's where I've got some weirdness happening, okay? I'm gonna break this up. If I have -4 plus the square root of 40 over 2, all over 2, I'm gonna do this on my calculator. I'm gonna type in 4 and then press the negative sign. So I'm -4 plus 40 square root equals, and I'm gonna divide it all by 2. I got 1.16 over here. That is what I was supposed to get to. So 1.16. All I did was I used the calculator. Okay, it said round to the nearest hundredth. That's why I stopped here. This side is going to be -4 minus the square root of 40 all over 2. So I put in 4, make it negative, and subtract the square root of 40 and divide everything by 2. This is equal to negative 5.16. So these are my answers on my parabola. If I have this coordinate grid at 1.16 and at negative 5.16, that's where I'm hitting my x-axis. Okay. Feel okay on that? The only difference here is I had a radical square root of 40, and I had to figure out the decimal because it told me to give me decimal form. Okay, I want to show you Desmos. You're not using Desmos right now, but Desmos is your friend, and on the SOL, by golly, use it. So I'm going to open Desmos on my other screen for one quick second, and I'm going to put in x squared plus 4x minus 6. So x squared plus 4x minus 6. Whoops. I'm going to do it correctly. Okay, we said we are crossing the x-axis at 1.16 and negative 5.16, right? Remember that because here comes Desmos. Okay, when I plug in x squared plus 4x, not minus 6 squared. Hang on. There. When I x squared plus 4x minus 6, it doesn't like it. It's giving me a big triangle. Let's say y equals. How about that? Do you like it that way? Oh, no, it's not liking this weird idea. There it goes. Sorry, I just typed it in funny and it didn't like my method. Okay, I have x squared plus 4x minus 6. We said we want one vertex to be at negative, or sorry, excuse me, 1, 0 to be at negative 5.16. We said 5.16. They're saying negative 5.162. And over here, my other one is at 1.162. Is that what we calculated? Yes, yay. Okay, so Desmos is your friend for sure on your SOL. When you do your graded classwork assignment for me, I won't let you use Desmos. You're gonna have to do it by hand, so that's why you're practicing. Okay, just a reminder, if I needed to find my y-intercept, it's there. If I needed to find my vertex, it's down there. So Desmos is great because you can click and get ordered pairs and information, yeah? Okay, so we have another example. I want you to try number 6 on your own and see what you get. See if I can move this stuff over a little bit. Nope. And then we have one more thing that I'm going to do before you practice much. Why won't you? Why won't you? Why won't you let me move you? That's what I want to know. Whatever.
If you were going to type this into the calculator.
Yep. So I do 4 first, and I tell it I want it to be negative. I'm going to say minus the square root of 40. So on this calculator, I have to tell it 40, take the square root. I then say equals because that was just the square root. So that's my numerator. And now I have to divide by 2. Cool. Okay, good. Thank you. Yep. On your SOL, you guys literally will not get these little calculators. You will have to use Desmos, just so you know. That I got that official word yesterday in our SOL training. So. Okay, I'm going to start working through number 6. So number 6, A equals 2, B equals -2, and C equals -1. So I know X equals negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared. Thank you. Minus 4AC, and it's all over 2A. I know it's tedious. Remember that I used that word? I'm well aware of it. So I have 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 plus 8 all over 4. And this means that I have 2 plus the square root of 12 over 4, or, and it also could be and either way, 2 minus the square root of 12 over 4. When I do that on a calculator, I should get 1.37 or negative 0.37. Those are my answers. So these are the decimal answers. These are not simplest radical form, right? These answers here, these are radical form, but right now they're not simplest, right? Can I simplify the square root of 12? Do you guys remember this? It's really the square root of 4 times 3, right? So that's really 2 roots of 3. So there's lots of simplifying that I could do, but I didn't ask for that. I just asked for decimal. Okay, you're gonna do the U try, but I don't want you to do it yet. So skip the U try for 1 second. Go to the page that says from last class. Okay, because this is the last thing I have to tell you today. Last class, we did talk about the things that could happen when you're solving these problems, right? We said you can have exactly 1 solution. So in our warm-up, we had one that had exactly 1 solution. It is just kissing the x-axis in 1 spot, right? Or you can have no solution. This is 0 solutions, right? We don't have anything crossing that x. This is 1 solution. This is 0. This guy, I cross x in 2 spots, so that one has 2 solutions. That's all you can have. You can just touch the x-axis, you can completely miss the x-axis, or you can overlap it so that you hit it twice with quadratics. Okay, so we are going to be able to tell how many solutions any problem will give us. We're going to use the discriminant. The discriminant is part of that whole quadratic equation. Okay, b squared minus 4ac, just that part is called the discriminant. It's not discriminate, it's a different word. Okay, so we are discriminating though about whether we're gonna have 0 solutions or 1 solution or 2 solutions. Here's the thing. If your whole discriminant is greater than 0 at all, if it's greater than 0, you're gonna have 2 solutions. If your discriminant equals 0, there is exactly 1 solution. But if your discriminant is negative, you're going to end up with the discriminant negative would look like this, right? It'd be the square root of a negative number. Can we have that? No. So there's no solutions if your discriminant is negative. No solutions. Okay, if it's positive, there are going to be 2 solutions. If it's exactly 0, there's exactly 1 solution. All right, so let me just do a couple of discriminant practice problems with you, and then you get to do all the U try stuff. Okay, again, this is just the same information I just said, but I wanted it to be on this page for you to use. If your discriminant is positive, you have 2 solutions. If your discriminant equals 0, you have exactly 1 solution. And if your discriminant is negative, there's no way you can take the square root of a negative number, so you have no solution. Okay, so we're gonna just maybe do 2 problems together, and then you can do all the U try in any order you want. Okay, number 1 for discriminant. My discriminant formula right there, it's just part of the quadratic formula. So b squared is 4 squared, right? Minus 4ac, that's minus 4 times 1 times negative 15. Everybody see this was A, this was B, this was C. When I do that, I have 16 plus 60. I don't even have to keep going. I know it's going to be positive. I can, it's positive 76. That means I have 2 solutions, right? Let's do number 3 together. B squared minus 4ac. So 3 squared minus 4 times A times C. I have, am I doing the right problem here? Yes. So I have 3 squared is 9 minus 44. I don't even have to keep going. I know that's negative, but it would be negative 35, right? So if it's a negative, there are no solutions. It means it's not going to cross the x-axis. I use SOLN for solution. You can write the whole word. Any questions on how we use this discriminant? Yeah.
How would you do it for two?
How did I what?
How would you do it for two?
Number 2? Yep.
No, for number 4.
Oh, for number 4. So what's A? On number 4, you guys, what's A? 1, right? Whatever was before the x squared. What's B? Do we have a B term? No, it's 0x, right? There's no single x term. And C is negative 15. So you still use B squared minus 4AC. 0 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 15. Again, I don't know what the issue is with 4, so I really don't. So 0 minus 4 times 1 times negative 15, that's 0 plus 60, which is 60. So that's positive. So we have 2 solutions. Feel okay on that? Okay, so you have lots of you tries. You have you try on discriminant where you're just figuring out how many solutions. And you also have you try over here where you are using the quadratic formula to find the zeros. What? Okay, you can always try to factor first if you want to. On you try, I really want you to find the zeros. So if you want to try to factor first, be my guest, totally fine. Okay, because I think there might be factors on like number 7 there. Yep. Okay, you guys at home, I'm going to stop recording here in a second. This is all just practice time. So I'm going to stop recording. You can type questions into the chat, or if you need a break or whatever, you can work on these later and then give me an email if you have questions. You do have math space homework, and I'm going to assign it here right now. It's not quite in math space yet. So I'm going to stop recording now.